The reason why I'm filming this video here is because I cannot find a decent enough video on the rear wheel and front wheel removal on my Triumph Tiger 850 Sport, which is basically just a Tiger 900, for the love of God. So I'm just going to record this haphazardly on my phone. We're going to be switching from the Anarchy Wilds, which are fantastic tires. I'm not Anarchy Wilds, Anarchy Adventures. They come stock with the bike. Those are actually fantastic tires. I got about 14,000 miles on those tires, and that is after completing riding, commuting to work. I ride all year, and riding a shit ton of fire roads and doing Source Auto 1000, which would ended up being like almost 2,000 miles of change in the in the 2 days or whatever have you. So I did the first hours, but anyways, long story short, shit ton of miles, and we've now come to pretty much the service life of the tire. Here's the wear indicator, and that's clearly run flat. So yeah, we're gonna be working on that today. So I just wanted to go over some of the tools I'm using, different size socket wrench. So you're gonna need a number 6 Allen, number 8 for the pinch bolts for the front, 17 Allen for the front socket, for the front axle, and then a 27 for the rear. I already started by loosening up your lock nuts, just as if you're doing like a chain adjustment. That's, proceed as such for the rear tire. And then I think you just end up just taking this axle nut off. I'm gonna label. I have some tape, so I'm gonna label. That's always important. I'm gonna label my spacers and stuff so I don't lose shit, because that's notorious to happen. I got 2 jacks up front to hold the front end because I want to pull both tires and get the tires replaced tonight. So we're pretty much just working on that. Like I said, I think from reading one thing on a forum, and I'll write down the torque specs. You don't have to remove the rear brake, just one of the fronts to get the front tire out. And then there's a torque spec. That's in the manual. I don't know if it's 110 Newton meters for the rear axle, torque specs for your lock nuts, and then torque specs for the pinch bolts. I can't remember where they are, but I have to know the menus. I loosened these already. Pinch bolts, and then your torque for the front axle, and then also the torque to take off at least one, whichever side you want, the front brake calipers, so that way you can get the tire out easily and then put it back on, put the whole assembly on. So that's pretty much what we're doing tonight. Just want to get them off, and then I'll take them to the shop. Most shops, they'll charge you 40, 50 bucks to put tires on, but it's a shit ton more if you actually take the bike in. And if you actually take the bike in and have them do it. So got all our materials. Oh, and I'll be replacing them with the Shinko's E805s, 804s, and that is because I could not find any other fucking tire. I wanted the Michelin Dunlap's Missions, the 50/50s. I want to go 50/50s. The 80/20s were very nice, but on the fire roads, I wanted to see what it does a little better. I know these are notorious for being inexpensive, which they were, and the guy at Cycle Gear really pressed them. Well, the name brand, not these specific ones. But I just sat down, did some researching for what I had. I wanted the Anarchy Wilds. Those were expensive. Couldn't find them. Missions, couldn't find them. Everywhere else, I couldn't find matching sets for the bike. It was just sporadic and stuff. So, and I really needed to replace it because I ride this for work. So we're just gonna go ahead and go with these. And I guess if the back tire does give out at less than 5,000 miles, I guess that's why it's under $200. I think it's like 150 for the rear. Just replace it. You just go through the hassle of replacing tires until what I want to do is I like to replace things as a set. So if anything, I'll just have to buy another rear until the front goes down enough to where I'll pre-order the ones I really want, so that way I can kind of wait and I'm not sitting in this jam that I put myself in. So yeah, we're just gonna get started here, and I guess I'll just haphazardly stop and start this video. So rear wheel is gonna I got these loose, take these off, and we'll figure it out which one we gotta slide this axle through, and then just wrap the chain around. I'm choosing to leave this shit on. If I don't have to take it off, I'm not. So here we go. Sweet. So after just doing some figurines, yeah, I just bumped the adjuster nuts up. There's the nut, the washer, and then your bracket here. I think it's narrow side down. Where are my dots? Yeah, dots should be this way. Yeah, dots are. Oh shit! I think it's narrow side down. If not, I'll be able to tell. I think I took a picture in the video. I'll rewatch the video if I get confused and can't tell which side it is. Anyways, that side, that's your left side, gear side, brake side. It's your axle. And sweet, I'll just leave this. There's your axle, and then the little, I guess, spacer adjuster. I put my rear right spacer that goes on the inside of here, and I think there might be one more spacer. Rear right spacer on the inside of there, labeled it, and I'll leave everything on the right, everything on the left, so it kind of helps me to not get too confused. And then all I did to keep this brake caliper, and so this axle attaches this brake caliper, and then it's like a fitting edge that fits into your block right there, right here. So it kind of fits in there, and then I guess it gives it some play or some motion or something. But that's pretty much what's in there on your rear brake side, rear right. And that's how that kind of goes together. And it looks like I have enough rear brake pad, 13,000, 14,000 miles. And I bought this with 0 miles on it, so it looks pretty good. I might try and wipe this up later, but I'll just leave it on. I cannot remember if most places, I'll just pull the sprocket and the dampeners to see how they are, and probably spray everything with brake cleaner and stuff to clean it all off and clean it good. And I'll probably clean the chain again. I've yet to clean the front sprocket on the chain to truly get what's in there, but I've been pretty rigorous with keeping up with cleaning the chain, so I hope it's not too much buildup. But one of these days I'll check this bike. This is how much we got on the tire here. I mean, I can't complain at all. I really don't have too many good. Fantastic in the rain. These tires, oh, I don't want to damage the brake rotor, so I'll lay it down gently or put a towel in. Fantastic wear out of this tire for what it is, for how many miles I got riding in all those different conditions, and especially in the rain. I ride a lot in the rain. These tires are fantastic. I would definitely, it's worth the money, 1,000% worth the money. You know, so what I'll do is I'll grab a towel or something just so I don't damage the rotor, and I'll try and pop this sprocket off. If not, I'll just take it to them like this and be like, here, this. But I don't want them to lose any, because I think this is a spacer right here in the middle of that sprocket. So that's the rear tire, popping that off. It wasn't actually too bad. Again, you know, it was torqued to spec and everything, so just use my breaker bar to take it off. It really wasn't too much of a hassle, and you don't have to do too much removing. Just be careful not to damage the brake line. So I'll put in the zip tie on that to keep it from moving anywhere, and then we'll move on to the front. But yeah, rear, so far so good. I might as well just film this from jump. So again, because I cannot find any good videos or any just videos in general on YouTube on the Triumph Tiger 850 Sport, rear wheel removal, front wheel removal, and tire change, all that good shit, I'm just gonna do it here now. And so far, so good. I cannot complain. We got the rear tire off, no problem. Just start like you're doing. Or actually, I'll just do a whole. I just did the video in 2 parts for the rear tire, so probably do the same thing for this tire, for the front tire. So I've already started by loosening your pinch bolts. I believe those are number 6s, and then the brake calipers I think are number 8s, correct, number 8. So I'm just going to take this side off here, and it should be a lot easier to take the wheel out. You shouldn't have to take off both. I hope you don't have to take off both. Then take your 17-inch and get it out. I just got a jack under here. Added the center stand, which is very helpful. I'm going to add a jack just to give it a little bit extra support once I pull this front wheel off, and everything. So that way I ain't got to worry too much. And then I have a backup jack over here as well. But the main idea is so the bike doesn't tilt forward too much, and everything can kind of stay centered on these jack stands I have. So yeah, we'll just get started. I'll probably just film this in parts because I don't have a GoPro yet to be able to hold it and film, and then I don't feel like sitting here and edit. So We'll see how this goes. And a lot of times, the hardest part is like lifting the tire up or adjusting it to pull the thing straight out, and then to put it back in when you got to put everything together. I've done tire changes before, and like a full tire change, but no, I didn't feel like fucking around with that. That took a whole day and a half. So yeah, man, here we go. We're just gonna work on our front tire change here, but yeah. So number six, number 8, and then a 17. And then I took some tape and just labeled rear brake side spacer, or left or right side, and then gear side spacer. So that way I just know where everything went back in place and stuff. And I keep it on that side of the bike, just to kind of keep myself from going fucking crazy and losing shit. So I'll check back in when I get this done. And I guess if anything else changes from the game plan, there you go. Actually, not too bad. Got the front off. 2 spacers, you know, one in left, one in right. The axle will just pull straight through like this, and then the nuts the spacer stayed in. That it worked. You could take, but these brakes are pretty friendly, so I could have just took both brakes off, to be honest with myself. Maybe made it a little easier. And then just pulled it straight through. The spacers actually stayed in, which that sounds like it'll be helpful for when I come back to put the bitch back in. But oh god, my back. What is recommended is maybe a second person or some way to control the weight on the back of the bike, because it'll pitch forward and it makes it really fucking hard to get that wheel out, because I have to lift. I had to kind of lift the bike up by the bottom here of by the pinch test, lift it up, and then roll the wheel out so it didn't get caught on the fender. And here's our front tire here. Pretty good. So we just toss those in the car, make sure I get them facing the right way when I go to put them in. That is rule number 1. So that's the first thing I'll do, is make sure they're facing the right way. So when I go to put them in, I'll put the spacers back in how they go. And yeah. This is the tire condition. The front tire has a little bit of life left on it. Where is the wear indicator? Probably looked right past it. But it's got oh, there it is. Yeah, it's got pretty good life left on it. Yeah, but I'll change them in sets. So take these to the dealership tomorrow, and hopefully they'll change them within a day, and I can get all this shit done before the weather starts to break. I want to put a bash guard on the bottom, and maybe those radiator plates, but more so the bash guard. And it actually is pretty flimsy. I tried to use it as a lift point for that jack, and it started to bend and give. It's just plastic, so yeah, it just bend and gave. So I went to the rear and just kind of just made sure it made contact there, so I could kind of rock the bike without losing control and the thing just pitching slowly forward. But I guess the center stand works how it's supposed to work with that third leg. I guess that's what it helps to balance it too. No, it's not on the ground, so it has no contact here. So it's a little bit of this front jack is kind of holding the front, and then I slid the other one underneath just in case something were to happen and anything shifted. So next we'll take our tires, take our wheels, and get them changed and get it back on. The dampeners were fine. So I just checked them and put them back out, labeled everything, put everything back as is, and I guess next thing is just to put everything back on and torque everything back down. So yeah, so that is the tire removal for your Triumph Tiger 850 Sport. What the fuck cough is that? Nope, quick update. So we got our Shinko E804s, 805s mounted on our tires. Mind you, one shop talked about $75 a tire to mount and balance. I went to the damn shop I bought the bike from, $38 each to do it. So I don't, just shop around if you don't feel like screwing around with tire irons and shit yourselves. But the most important thing with the front wheel was just labeling shit, the spacers, which one's your right, which one's your left, and then the orientation they go in. So I'm pretty confident I got that right because of taping it up. On your Tiger models, which is super fantastic because I dealt with front brakes that aren't as easy, just take the front brakes off. It's 2 number 8s here and there. It's a lot easier to take the front brake off, and then I just shoved a cinder block with like some more plywood 2x4s under there to help get the bike pitched backwards so you can slide it in there. With the knobbies, it's a little more ground clearance than it is the stock Anarchy Adventures. So it's, you know, just a little bit millimeter of a difference. So that helped to lift the bike up to get everything aligned. And then you don't have to tap too hard on the axle with a mallet just to get it to slide in, but you know, just tap it a little bit, and then it eventually screws in. It screws directly into here, which is really, really nice. So now we're gonna attack the rear, kind of same form and fashion. Oh, make sure to grease up your axles. Don't forget that, because that's important too. We're gonna grease up. We're gonna slide we got our spacers labeled. Well, actually, I put the spacers and the sprocket and the dampeners back in. Get everything labeled. Hope these don't fall out. Get everything labeled. And the back should be a little easier, because then the bike is already pitched forward. So it's just more using my foot to lift up the tire, line everything in. So it's gonna, oh, I'm missing a spacer. It's one more spacer that goes in on the brake caliper side. And then as you can see, there's no bolts attaching the caliper. There's no bolts that separately attach it to the swing arm. It's just that one axle you push through. So you'll line everything up as so. Just kind of, I zip tied it so it didn't fall and stretch the cable. It's a block on this side. That little block right there goes into here. Yeah, goes right in here. And then this side butts up against here. And you shove your axle through, your axle bolt, and get the chain on. I didn't take the chain guard off with it. Right here, I just, you know, we'll thread that on, slide everything through, and then pretty much do a chain adjustment. Just lock nuts and adjust everything back, make sure it's tensioned good, and we're good to go. So if I have any other issues, that's the game plan. If I have any other issues, then I'll let you know. But so the brakes look decent, so I wasn't gonna change those. I got a lot of pads, so. Yep. So far so good. It wasn't too bad. It was just it helps a lot if you have a second person, because they'll just lift the back end and it makes it easier to get the front underneath. So we're gonna get these on and then do a couple test rides. Nothing too serious, because please remember that anytime you put on fresh tires, it's oils and stuff and resins they use to protect these. So this is very super slick. So I'll just probably really just make sure I've done everything good, and then I go over my torque specs and all that stuff. So everything's hand tight. I didn't want to use any power tools because I've strip shuffled in the past. So everything's hand tightened, and then I'll go through and torque everything down. So far so good. E804s, E805s in the rear. Just checking my torque specs. I wrote them down in my book how to put them down, but 45 Newton meters. Yeah, 45s, 65, 22s. Don't fuck it up, because I got it confused and doubled the fucking torque on here, but I backed it off. 22s for your pinch bolts. 110 for your rear axle, and I don't have a torque wrench that can torque these, but it's supposed to be 15 Newton meters. But so far everything's spinning, nothing's grinding. I did my brake check, so I'm gonna get it ready for a test ride. Just gonna take it easy, try and just maybe go up and down the street. It's windy as fuck. Go up and down the street, just kind of scrub them in as best I can and call it good.